Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there.
So, guys, we just want to do one talking about some good decisions that can be made and some bad decisions which can be made. How many of you have, in the last week, eaten something like this? A Big Mac with a large fry and a large Coke. How many of you can fess up? Have you eaten anything like this in the last week, last month, last year? Last decade, hopefully, maybe a couple decades. Right here, you can see this equates to 1,330 calories. Now, you could actually survive on 1,330 calories, male or female, pretty well. But given the right set of choices, this is not the right set of choices. As you can see here, 53 grams of fat, 68% of your daily value of fat. But again, fat is not all created equal. Now, if you had 53 grams of fat that came from coconut and olive oil and avocado, that's not a bad thing at all. But coming from this type of substances, ooh, not good. Oh, and that didn't include ketchup, guys. And again, the carbs, protein, only 32 grams, really. You could do so much better than this. And this is really very sad. This is the standard American diet, unfortunately. And this leads to a shortened life, and this leads to inflammation. This leads to aches and pains, suffering, cloudy mental facilities. It's just not a good situation. You can make way better choices. And this was a video that we did a year ago, pretty much. And it's just showing a Prana LifeForce alkalizing week's worth of groceries for us. And you can see it's centered around the veggies. Veggies are key, and veggies should be the bulk of what we are eating if we are to extend our lifespan. And, fruit is good in moderation, depends on the person, depends on the sources, and then there are things to take in consideration, such as food combining as well. This was another video we did not too long ago on critical natural immune support for these times and some of the supplements that we add. One of our family members had mentioned that they helped their wife get cured from stage 4 cancer. I believe it was stage 4 cancer, simply by adding spirulina and chlorella and cutting out the crap. This is crap. I mean, and that's putting it nicely. But adding spirulina and chlorella, which are blood builders and purifiers, to her diet, changing things around. And we've talked about the values of fasting, intermittent fasting. It's amazing what the body can achieve. It really, really is. So what we wanted to go into are pranic foods. What are pranic foods? And not just pranic foods, but also talk a little bit about enzymes and some of the science.
Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, all of this stuff is really important because as people, we're usually very, very busy. And that's another thing that they kind of use against us. They keep us in a state where we're extremely busy. You have the kids to feed. The kids are hungry like now, or they were hungry 10 minutes ago, and you're in a position where you just got off work, you're exhausted, and you have kids that are starving. But there are a lot of things we can do if we just start to prep ahead of time. There are a lot of kid-friendly things that can be done with some simple internet searches. And even for yourself, if you're really hungry and you need to eat now, raw nuts, raisins, things just to get you by until you can get yourself into a pattern where you're able to eat these foods more often. And it does take a little time, but things that are really worth it in life, they do take up a bit of our time, and they do take some adjusting.
Absolutely. We are what we eat. Our food is not just fuel. It becomes the new us. And so when you're eating stuff that's laden with all sorts of chemicals, preservatives, dyes, and who knows what else, what do you expect your body to become? Seriously. And it's so obvious so many of the times from like different comments that get made. can sense the diet of the people making the comments. You could tell who has a good diet and who doesn't, because diet has such a huge effect on us. It really does affect our mental clarity to a very high degree. So prana, chi, ki, life force, vril, it is all around us. It's everywhere. It very much is very similar to the concept of the Force in Star Wars. And we can increase the life force. We can increase the ability of the life force to flow through our body, keep us alive and functioning, vital and strong. Or we can decrease it depending on what we're eating. When you're eating stuff like this, and it could be Wendy's, it could be Burger King, it could be any of those things, the digestive process itself is going to end up depleting you of prana instead of building prana in your body. And this is also a reason why, eating things like this regularly will tend to lead an individual towards cancers and diabetes and all sorts of inflammatory health issues. Inflammation is the source of so much disease, discomfort, and ultimately pain and suffering. So we don't want to inflame our bodies, and we don't want to deplete ourselves of chi, because that is why we are able to be alive and animated. When there's no chi, we're not there anymore. It's just that simple. And so the concept of pranic foods is likely based on the ancient Indian yogic diet culture of consuming foods to nurture your mind, body, and soul. Now, this particular article is trying to blend the science with the traditional yogic way of looking at things. But again, these yogic sciences are really given to us from those cultures in the past that come from the Silver and the Golden Age, and really come from beings that understand how the universe works, and also the ones that we call the rishis. Mm-hmm. And the rishis, who are the rishis? Well, the rishis gave us the Vedas. The rishis are the holy men, wise men that go deep into meditation and are able to see how the universe works from the depths of their meditation. And so these are beings that devoted their entire lives to going as deeply within as possible. So foods either add to the life force or they take from the life force. And they can be basically neutral as well. And, in some circumstances, you might find that you're better off in a pinch eating something that's pranically neutral than saying, oh my God, I'm starving. This is the only thing around in this town. As Cindy was saying, if you had some, raw almonds or something along that, even dried fruit in the car, just to keep you from having to pull in and do something so detrimental to your health, because this is seriously detrimental to your health, eating the fast foods like this. And even places like Applebee's and some of these others we have gotten from the guides are loaded with things, again, NA and O's, that you might not expect are in there. So prana is the Sanskrit word for the life force, the breath force. According to Hindu belief system, prana is your life force or vital energy, similar to qi in traditional Chinese medicine. In the Hindu practice of yoga, prana is considered a cosmic form of energy that exists everywhere. When present within you, prana becomes life itself. When it leaves the body, that means death. It's pretty simple. So you're eating and either adding more life to yourself, or you're eating and you're shortening your lifespan. And maybe we should look at things in those terms.
Mm-hmm. Very much a calculator type of effect. So, sometimes we have to get ourselves psyched up or inspired to do something. So sometimes it's a good idea to put these little visuals in our mind. If you want to be adding points to your life, or, are they going to move into the taking away? But this is something that's very, very real, and it's something that we're actually going to be facing more and more and more. It's going to become more important to grow our own food, which is the best thing that we could truly, truly do for ourselves, and look at the situations that we're in and pull out all the positives.
Yes, and I'm going to give you guys the links so you could go in deeper as you will, but just want to cover some of the basics. So basically, you could whittle it down to processed foods are dead foods. Pretty simple. Processed foods are dead foods. Meats are particularly tough on the body to digest. They take a lot of work to digest, so they can be chronically depleting. They also can cause a buildup of uric acid in the body. Again, it depends on what type of flesh it is you're consuming if you are eating flesh. And I do know that there are vegans that will not want us to mention that, but the fact is, most of the population still does eat meat. Although a yogic diet doesn't eat meat. It will use some animal products, like some dairy products, but it won't take in meat. Now, as far as meats, not all meats are created equal. Obviously, the red meats like beef and say lamb, they're tougher on the body to break down and digest, so they'll take more prana to basically break it down. And then protein in general as well. Protein is something that's very necessary because as we do have essential amino acids, which you need for functioning. And we do have essential fatty acids as well. There is no such thing as essential carbs. So carbs are not really essential, and that gets us into the idea of getting into ketosis, which is something that we've talked about in other videos, and we won't go into depth here, as there are many sources to talk about that. It is easier to lead a ketogenic lifestyle if you are consuming animal products. Absolutely. It's much, much harder if you are vegan. It's not impossible, but it's much harder. So as far as, what would be a good choice if I wanted to not give up meat, but to eat something that's not going to deplete the prana so much, something that's easier to digest? Well, chicken and turkey are easier to digest than beef and say lamb. And then fish in general is easier still. We've also gotten from the guides that karmically, fish carries less karmic repercussions than the other forms of meat, as well as fish are perhaps a little bit lower on the evolutionary totem pole. But recognize consciousness itself exists in everything. Everything is conscious. So when you're eating a leaf of lettuce, that is consciousness. When you're eating a carrot, that's consciousness. Everything has consciousness. And so that can lead some people to say, well, I don't want to destroy consciousness at all, and go past the vegan thing to become fruitarians. And now fruitarians, if you're looking at it from the standpoint of not wanting to kill life in order to keep yourself functioning, would be people that would eat things such as tomatoes, cucumbers, squash, nuts, seeds, things like that, where it's not killing the entire plant to, basically give yourself nutrition and life force. So that would be going another step past the veganism, because again, consciousness is in everything, and life does feed off life. Now, there's actually been cases of yogis that have been able to live without food, and that sounds like hypocritical in modern science. But there have been documented cases of yogis where they haven't eaten or even drank water for 21 days or more, with scientists monitoring them. And according to modern science, you'd be dead in 3 to 6 days without water. But there is something called osmosis. And we could actually end up pulling water from the very air that's around us as well. Now, that's not something I would encourage people to go and try to do, especially if you've been eating McDonald's every day. Again, everybody needs to ease into things in moderation. And the same thing with fasting. If you're going to start to try to fast, probably the easiest way to go is a 16-8 intermittent fast. Just get used to eating between, say, 8 a.m. and 4 p.m. or 12 p.m. and 8 p.m. or 2 p.m. and 10 p.m., depending on what suits your lifestyle. and then work from there. You can start to close that window, make it a 6-hour window, then perhaps a 4-hour window. Perhaps then you could try to go a 24-hour fast where you ate at 8 p.m. and then you eat again the next day at 8 p.m. When we give our body time to rest, it gets rid of diseased material. So there's a process that starts that ends up breaking down. First, things it breaks down is things that are cancerous. Abnormal tissues get broken down. So it's an automatic way to fight cancer. And it's a way that we were intended really to live. We weren't always, we didn't always have the availability to eat 3 square meals a day and have snacks. And if we do that, then again, we're really kind of shortening our life unless we are incorporating periods of time in for the body to purge itself of everything it needs to purge. So when we're looking at foods that will give you prana, just simply look to live foods in their natural state. So obviously that's going to emit anything that comes in a box and that's been processed in a factory.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I do want to make a comment about charging our food and the importance of charging our food, because as we hold our hands over the food, we are charging it with energy. We can bless that food so that food has that information as we take it in. Same with water. We can make our water infused with love and goodness and all of these things. And then when it comes to fruit and fruitarians, it's my understanding that the belief system there is that fruit is an offering. So when it's an offering, it's not necessarily taking life. So there are many, many different ways to understand things, look at things, do things, and it's about you finding out what works for you.
Yes, and as I am sipping on coffee, there is a point in time when I clean things up that I don't need coffee even, and I always enjoy coffee, but I have gone over a year at a time without even taking in coffee, and that's only when I go to eating what I would say is about a 80 to 90% live food diet. And that's something that I've been starting to ease back into a little bit, as my intuition is saying now is perfect time to do that. So like, what did dinner look like last night? It was a ginormous salad full of organic lettuces with cucumber, pepper, onion, I didn't have any sprouts, but I normally would love to have sprouts. And sprouts are one of the foods that have the most prana in them, as the sprouts are the seeds that are starting to sprout, and that's a time of great growth. It's almost like plant stem cells, wouldn't you say? I mean, sprouts are so high in prana and life force.
Oh, very, very, very much programmable, like I was talking about, something that you could actually bless as it grows. And these are the things that you put into your body. This is the newest form of creating your own human body and putting it in there. Extremely important, very good for you. And as you're going on this journey, you will discover ways to keep this food around you so that it's within arm's reach. And again, it's a process where you have to find and create these responses in your mind to have you walk down that path where you are making better choices for yourself and your family and those around you.
And, with the coffee, it can stimulate the adrenals to the extent that it gets us to actually start burning prana. So, coffee can be a good thing. Too much coffee, again, can end up whittling away the life force, so to speak. I love this quote: "The food you eat can either be the safest and most powerful form of medicine or the slowest form of poison." Boy, is that true. So like with that salad last night, fresh blueberries on it as well. And then I do have a serious addiction to the really good quality fresh mozzarella. I love that. So the cheese is my protein. And, that's basically what I use for the protein. Or in the mornings when we have a shake, we'll have protein powder that will add to it. So how much protein do you really, really need? Well, again, it depends on what you're doing. If you are exercising really hard, you're an athlete, then you will need more protein than somebody who is not. Now, protein is, again, kind of a double-edged sword because it is typically harder to break down. It's harder for the body. It makes the kidneys work harder. It brings about uric acid. And so it does have a tendency to make us more acidic. And the more acidic we are, the faster and easier disease spreads. So we want to maintain an alkaline type of environment so that the disease in an alkaline environment, it won't spread as fast, and actually it just stops it growing. So, one of the things you could do that's very simple and positive is just adding fresh lemon to your water. And one thing we did invest in was a countertop RO system, reverse osmosis. And it just felt like the best thing to do. The guys were like, yes, definitely get a reverse osmosis system because we don't trust the water supplies. And there's a lot of filters that won't take out things that you'll get out with a reverse osmosis system. So just adding back things like trace minerals and putting some lemon in there, fresh squeezed lemon juice, maybe it's just half of a lemon, that will help alkalize your body again and help it clean away all the things it needs to clean away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's really important, even just to find the smallest of things. So baby steps do add up, and they're very useful and very effective. And please remember, they're sending us into a time where they use our own devices against us. And humans do have a lazy side, and that's why they do offer so many things. Here, this is fast. Do this. Here, this is even better for your family. You can get this done super quick. Do that because you're exhausted, you're working, you're tired. So that's why you just got to do these baby steps all the way around you. And in a lot of cases, find inspiration. Look online or look to friends for inspiration, because when we find the why we are doing of things, then it's much easier to go back to that why and continue to act on it and recreate your life little by little.
Yeah, absolutely. So, for our first meal yesterday, we just basically had a stir fry, and it was really all veggies, lightly stir fried, and there was probably about 7 or 8 veggies, including broccoli and cabbage, which are again cancer fighters, onion, fresh ginger root, garlic, and a bunch of other stuff. So very light. We got a lot of veggies yesterday, and it feels wonderful to do so. You're not tired when you eat. If you ever feel that sluggishness after a meal, in my mind, that's telling you that it's taking prana to digest that. It's taking the life force, because all of a sudden you're tired. And again, we could look at things from just a pure nutrition standpoint, and if you're looking at just your macronutrients like fats, carbs, and protein, you're only getting a tiny a portion of the bigger picture. So, again, what do yogis eat? Well, yogis typically would have 1 meal a day. That was something that typically was done. And it would be really relatively mild. I do love spicy food. So, I have weaknesses. We all have weaknesses. And you can't give in to weaknesses somewhat here and there and still, and still enjoy life and yet keep moving forward. But again, it's all about consistency and moving forward in a positive way. One of the other things that is so overlooked is the sun. Being out in the sun, because ultimately when you eat a plant, well, we could take it this way. When you eat a plant's just basically taking the sun's energy along with water, and that's what you're eating, right? And then when you eat an animal, you're eating an animal that ate a plant that ultimately it was just taking water and sunlight and making that food for you. We can absorb a lot of chi from the sun. And the sun is something that gives us vitamin D. It could boost our immune system. It could boost our mood. And also in these times, the guides have asked to get out in the sun so that the sun can shine on your forehead, because even just shining on your forehead will activate the pineal gland.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it absolutely will. And those few minutes are very, very precious. And even some autoimmune system problems can be made better through just spending a little time in the sun.
Absolutely. Nature is brilliant. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. When we look around us, everything is here that we need. Now, if we want to look at it from a scientific standpoint, live food has enzymes. And enzymes are what you need for LifeForce energy. And this says you might have heard people talking about enzymes and wonder what the heck were they talking about. So here you go. This is a little bit about enzymes. Enzymes are substances that are required for every chemical reaction that occurs in the body. They are described as the labor force that's required to build the body, meaning they are the activity or action for any process to happen. Without enzymes, nothing would happen. No other nutrients or hormones could do anything for you without having enzymes involved. Enzymes are more than catalysts. They also possess the life energy, the chi, the ki, the prana, the vril. They give off energy when they work. If you were able to see their activity, it would be similar to watching a lightning storm. Enzymes consist of protein carriers charged with vital energy factors. And that's from a book called Food Enzymes, Health and Longevity by Dr. Edward Howell. So basically, enzymes are protein carriers charged with vital energy factor required for every chemical reaction in the body, responsible for every activity of life. Even breathing, sleeping, and thinking requires enzyme activities. It's what makes life possible, so it is the life energy or the life force. 3 classes of enzymes that we should understand to help maintain or reestablish good health. So here we go. We have metabolic systemic enzymes. They run our bodies, all organs and tissue. They're produced by the body. Digestive enzymes digest food. They're produced by the body. Food enzymes, they start food digestion. They're found in food. Closer look, metabolic enzymes. These enzymes are responsible for keeping the body working properly and looking after organs and tissues. They are produced by the body. There are over 13,000 particular ones for each organ, tissues, etc. They're the ones that repair any damage, decay, and heal disease. As you can see, they're required for good health. Digestive enzymes, we have many different digestion enzymes are produced by the body. These include protease for the digestion of proteins, amylase for the digestion of carbohydrates, and lipase for the digestion of lipids or fats. And the food enzyme concept, this is a well-researched concept that Dr. Edward Howell has done and shared in that book. Food enzymes help with digestion of food and therefore reduce the load of the body's need to produce extra digestive enzymes. The less digestion enzymes the body needs to produce, the more metabolic enzymes it has the ability to produce. When the body is too busy always producing digestive enzymes means it begins to fall short on producing the metabolic type. Remember that the metabolic enzymes are the ones required to run our body and repair organs and tissues. We want to be ensured that we are able to produce enough of these to go around to maintain health. So what depletes our enzymes? Some of the main things that are depleting our food enzymes are cooking, pasteurization, or any form of heating, as enzymes are very heat sensitive. Heat destroys the enzymes in food. This means if you cook your food, you destroy the enzymes that were available and must now rely on your body to produce more digestive enzymes. Animal products and non-germinated activated nuts are also hard to digest and increase the needs of the body to produce extra digestive enzymes. Remember, every time we rely on the body to produce digestive enzymes, we reduce the metabolic enzyme production. So how can you support health with enzymes? Again, you get it from raw food. So sprouts, fresh veggies and fruits, soaked nuts and seeds, soaked sprouted beans and legumes. And, this is key. It really is key. And that's why, again, in our society, if we just modify things, so like if you're still going to want to have a piece of protein, a piece of flesh, bring it down to maybe 4 ounces and make the salad be the main plate. Have a nice 12-inch dinner salad, so to speak, filled to, the top with all sorts of good, healthy choices, all sorts of different vegetables. And I particularly love to put berries in salads too. I like the sweet tart type thing. And then just make the protein in the side dish. And that's a good way to go.
Right. And I'm one who needs extra protein. And many of you out there who are channels, I've discovered through working with myself and through others that, yeah, we do need extra protein. So really keep that in mind, because you are being depleted every time you channel that kind of energy. You really need to take good care of yourself and make sure that you're coming from a solid foundation. And nutrition is one of the biggest and best things we can do so that we are channeling good information, but we're also keeping ourselves healthy. So that's really important to guard yourself in that way.
The other way we could take more life force in is just through practices that use breath work, and that you're consciously bringing the life force into your body. So when you're doing yoga, for instance, be focused on, of course, releasing any tension wherever there's tension. So if you're doing, downward facing dog and you feel tension in your hamstrings and your calves, yes, release the tension there. But all the while that you're doing that pose, inhale and draw the life force in through the palm chakras and the foot chakras. And just visualize, get used to visualizing your body glowing with the life force. Because you are telling every single cell in the body that we're pulling in the life force. And, there are legends of these Taoist immortals that get to such a high level of Qigong that they're called immortals. There's actually a photograph on the internet of one Taoist master that they actually had his birth certificate showing that he was like 326 years old when he died. Now that sounds incredible in a Kali Yuga, yet it can be done. And of course, modern science would say that couldn't be done. But again, what's modern science's real agenda? So things like practicing breath work, pranayama, absolutely, Qigong, Tai Chi, just be aware that you're drawing the life force in. Meditation, again, and this is talking about yoga. Light exercising. Over the years, I really changed the way I do any sort of resistance work, as I found that I could feel an increased flow of the chi, of the life force, when I'm doing very high reps, as far as lighter weights or exercise bands, cables that don't tax your joints, but doing, say, 25, 30 reps, 40 reps, 50 reps. That's going to increase the flow of the life force into the muscles while taking it easy on joints. And then healthy supplements, which we've talked about at length. We always use spirulina, chlorella, barley grass. We use maca. We use, all sorts of good healthy things to help boost the immune system as well. Spend more time in nature. Absolutely. That is so key. Just get around plants and trees. They're giving off energy that will be so beneficial for you. Sit with your back against the tree. Ask the tree's permission to absorb its life force, and give it permission to help balance yours as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can definitely have a very symbiotic relationship going on between you and plants and trees. So if you're not in a place where you can simply do that, even if you're growing your own plants, you can create this relationship with them, this give-take relationship that is so important for us to find our grounding in life. Find that deep soul feeling that you are in a symbiotic relationship with your surroundings.
Yeah, I did a year of eating raw, and it was almost entirely raw. And that was when I lived in Florida. And, that environment made it easier, because it is tougher when we get into the cold climates to eat just raw. Absolutely. That's something my naturopath told me decades ago, and I totally agree with and understand. Yet what I found was, I think I'd say I've over the course of my life usually been about a 7 to 8 hour sleeper as far as to function properly. But when I was eating almost entirely raw, I only needed about 5 hours sleep. It was really kind of crazy. And that was at a time too where I was doing a lot of work, and I just had so much energy. I never got tired. It was really pretty wild, the effect of it on the body. Surrounding yourself with positivity, love, and laughter. That is so key and so hard in these days when we're assaulted by all the negative news and everything that's out there with the big agenda underway in the world. But again, detaching, and when you're not, when you don't have to be on the technology, get off the technology. Like now, the rest of the day, we're just going to go work in the garden and work on ourselves. So, phones off, technology off, router turned off, and just get out there in nature as much as possible.
Yes, 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 yes. And we're all on this journey together. We're all learning a lot. And I did want to mention, we did do a video on the root chakra. So when you have your soul on board with what you're doing, a lot of times it's easier for you to create that willpower and that desire to do the things that are best for you and give your body that nutrition. So you can take a look at that root chakra, because it is going to anchor you into the earth and make that chakra work a little bit better, because again, it's about our conversation with ourselves and our surroundings, and getting that information in to nurture yourself and to be well nourished and rooted and grounded is a really good starting point.
Absolutely. So as always, guys, thanks for your support on Patreon and Ko-Fi. We couldn't do it without your support over there. Do check out evolutionaryenergyarts.com. If you need to make an appointment for just spiritual coaching, Vedic astrology charts, energy work, biofield tuning, it's evolutionaryenergyarts@gmail.com or EEARTS@protonmail.com. And do check out Medicinal Foods. Lots of good supplements for boosting the immune system there as well. There's a link at the top of every page. Much love. God bless and namaste.
Namaste.